I was raised in Tyrone, Ireland, in a wealthy and influential family. My sister and I were the only kids in the family, and since she was 6 years older than I was, we didn't play together very much. When my sister got married, I was only 12 years old, and I remember how many people showed up on her wedding day, all of them laughing, singing, and happy, but I was sad when she left with her new husband, Mr. Tyrone. My sister had always been nicer to me than my mother. Dublin, my parents didn't show me love. About a year after my sister's marriage, a letter from Mr. Tyrone arrived, informing us that my sister was unwell and wished to return to Tyrone to be with her family. They were not particularly interested in me, and preferred to have sons. Tuesday came, and it was a very long day. Hour after hour passed, and I listened all the time for my father. I was sad that she was ill, but I was also extremely thrilled about her coming. My father told me that they were leaving Dublin on Sunday and arriving here on Tuesday evening. Sister and her husband, the sky had grown dark, and midnight was approaching, but I was unable to fall asleep, so I listened and waited. I heard someone crying far away at around 1 o'clock in the morning, so I ran out of my bedroom and down to the living room. My father answered, and we quickly opened the front door to get a better look. We waited there for a few minutes, but nothing was there. There were no lights, and no one was there. So we went outside and waited to say hello. A man arrived the following day and informed us that my sister had passed away. On Sunday, she had felt very ill. On Monday, she had gotten worse. And on Tuesday, at around 1 o'clock in the morning, she had passed away. I looked at my father, and he looked at me. We didn't understand. I knew I heard a noise, and I answered, "Yes, Father, I heard it too." But where were they? We went back into the house without saying anything else. Since I was the only child of a wealthy and influential family, men began to visit our home before I was 14 years old. They wanted to meet me and possibly marry me, but I didn't like any of these men and thought I was too young to get married. For the next 2 years, I was so sad that you could say I stopped living. I didn't want to do anything or speak to anyone. Mr. Tyrone soon married another young woman in Dublin, and I felt angry that he forgot my sister so quickly. To Dublin, we're going to meet men who are richer and more intriguing than those back home in Tyrone, she remarked, adding that it's easy to find you a suitable husband in Dublin. I started to feel happier. I made a lot of friends, went dancing every evening, and many young men approached me and asked to dance. I enjoyed talking to them, and I stopped thinking about my deceased sister all the time. However, my mother was not at all pleased and wanted me to find a husband as soon as possible. One night before I went to bed, she asked, "Do you know Lord Glenn Fallon?" as she entered my chamber. Oh, I did respond, saying, "He's that ugly old man from Kerala." "He's not old, Fanny, nor is he ugly." My mother spoke up fast saying, "He wants to marry you because he loves you and wants to marry me. But he's making a mistake. He comes from a very wealthy and influential family as well." I told my mother, "I don't love him. I can't marry someone I don't love. Fanny, please consider this." My mother said softly, "You're a very lucky young person. Hugh's a good man, and he wants to marry you." Woman, my mother exited the room, and I sat in silence for a while. Lord Glenn Fallon was a kind and pleasant man. I didn't think I loved him, but I liked him. I never felt content at home with my parents, but I always felt better when I spoke to him. The following morning, when I saw my mother, said, "Yes, to Lord Glenn Fallon." 2 days after our wedding, we bid our loved ones farewell and left Tyrone. 3 days later, we arrived in. When Kerala and I first saw my husband's gorgeous home, it was next to a river, with a garden full of flowers and trees, and a blue sky above. I stood beside him and took in the sight, feeling incredibly happy. Then, my love told me that my husband had to meet Martha, who cleans and cooks and is very knowledgeable about the house. So we entered, and I was greeted by Martha, an amiable old woman, with blue eyes that sparkled. Suddenly, I felt thrilled to be. It was a very joyful place there. "Come with me now," Madam said to Martha. "Look at your bedroom, so we can take up your bags, and you can wash before dinner." I followed her, and soon we came to a large brown door. "This is your room," she said, opening it. Men built fires in the living rooms, and there were dogs and cats everywhere. I was startled into icy terror as I stood there and saw something large and dark in front of me. I had no idea what it was. I assumed it was just an old coat, but there was no one inside. "There's a problem," because I swiftly retreated, terrified, and moved away from the door. When you open the door, Martha's face turns white with fright. "What's wrong?" Madam Martha asked me. "Nothing, maybe it's nothing," and I answered quickly, "but I thought I saw something in there. I thought I saw a large black coat there." When someone sees the black coat in this house, we know that something horrible is about to happen soon to the Glenn Fenn family. "I saw the black coat when I was a child." I questioned her. "How? You look scared. Something bad is going to happen." Child, and the following morning, old Lord Glenn Fallon passed away. I knew then, madam, that something terrible was about to occur, so we went down to eat dinner. I felt sad, happy, and scared, but I kept my feelings about the black coat to myself, because I just wanted to move on and feel joyful once more. The following day, Lord Glenn Fallon and I took a stroll about the house and gardens, because I wanted to get to know my new place better. As I mentioned before, I like this house and everyone here, and I'm glad to be here with you because it's far better than. Tyrone, my spouse, was silent for a while, walking with his head down and contemplating. Then all of a sudden, he turned to face me, grasped my hand, and said, "Fanny, I need you to pay close attention to what I'm saying. Only enter the rooms in front of the home. Never enter the rooms at the back of the structure or the small garden near the back entrance." Fanny, his expression was sad and white. I could comprehend what he was saying, but I couldn't figure out why he had changed here at Kahar Gilla. He never smiled or laughed anymore. Perhaps the back of the house was dangerous, I thought. But he didn't want to talk about it anymore. We went back to the house without speaking, and again I tried to forget his words and to be as happy as I was before. It was about a month later that I met the other woman. For the first time, one day, I wanted to go for a walk in the gardens. It was a beautiful day, and I ran up to my room after lunch to get my hat and coat. But when I opened the door of my room, there was a woman sitting near the fire. She was about 40 years. She was elderly, wearing a black coat, and had a white face and white eyes. Upon closer inspection, I noticed that she was blind. I remarked to the woman, "This is my room. There is a mistake in your room." She said, "No, I don't think so. I don't think there's a mistake." She said, "I must tell you that I am Lady Glenn Fallon, and I want you to leave my room now." I replied, "Lady Glenn Fallon, you are not you." I asked, "Where is Lord Glenn Fallon?" "Down in the living room." She said, "But who are you, and why are you here in my room? Tell Lord Glennon that I want him." When Lord Glennon arrived, I hurried out of the room to wait for him to open the door. I didn't hear everything he said, but I knew that the blind woman was unhappy and that Lord Glennon was furious. When he emerged, I asked him who the woman was and why she was in my bedroom, but he didn't respond. His face was pale with fear, and all he said was to forget her. But I didn't forget her, and it became harder to talk to him every day. Really good. The woman who is blind, Lady Glenn Fallon. The woman in the black coat you saw in the ghostly image was your husband's wife. When we found her, the knife was on the floor next to her eyes, and someone had cut out her eyes. Maybe he didn't want her to see his other women, his next wife. Nobody knows how she died. Her bedroom was at the back of the house. Someone saw your husband holding a knife the night she died. Did he kill her? I didn't wait to talk to my husband. Once more, I fled Karilla that day because I was too terrified to stay there for another minute, since I knew the blind woman would kill me again. I told my driver to take me back to Tyrone groan after saying goodbye to Martha. I am content living with my parents now that the house is quiet. I sleep well every night, and they are friendlier to me than they were previously. Occasionally, my deceased sister pays me a visit at night, but I never get scared. When she tells me that the blind woman is looking for me at Kurilla and that she wants to kill me, she can never locate me there, so she has to wait for the next lady, which makes her jealous of me. Glenn Fallon. This video has an English voiceover, and it is strictly prohibited to copy or re-upload it for 5 days.